Well, hello, welcome to the Pundit Arena Six Nations Round 1 review. I'm Nick Heath, alongside me Tom May. Tom, it was quite a weekend. I think it lived up to the billing in terms of everyone's excitement for this tournament. We hope you guys obviously enjoyed all the rugby. Highlights for you?
I think Italy's performance was outstanding in the first 40 minutes. They kept a lot of the ball. And maybe a lot of everyone's highlights would be the fact that Wales just completely and utterly demolished Scotland. Scotland didn't turn up at all, did they? Yeah,
well, let's perhaps start with that game. We'll go through them in chronological order. Of course, Wales running out by 34 points to 7. I was down there in the Principality Stadium. It was a hell of a start. I think the interception try, from Gareth Davis as well. It just... the combination of all those things that happened that went for Wales in that opening 10 minutes. I mean, Scotland, when they had the ball in that period, looked pretty dangerous themselves, but very quickly, I guess, being down by 14 points, suddenly you're in a situation where the pressure is higher and suddenly their accuracy went and the last passes just weren't going to hand, and all of a sudden it was turning into an ever worse day at the office.
Yeah, I mean, it was a great game, wasn't it? Just the first 15-20 minutes I thought was end to end. I was watching that and thinking, this could be an absolute belter. But actually, the accuracy that the Scottish showed, they made line breaks, they made crucial incisions into that Welsh defence, but they didn't finish anything off. There was almost a lack of respect for the ball. It's so hard to keep hold of the ball. In club rugby, let alone international rugby, so you give it away that lightly. It's very difficult to get it back. And I thought the Welsh looked like a team that weren't missing key players.
Yeah,
I thought the influence that Reece Patchell had at 10 was fantastic, and clearly that sort of Scarlet's backbone to the side had a bit of an influence on the day. I thought everyone looked like they knew exactly what their units were going to do, what the players playing next to them were going to do, and I think that made the difference.
And there were those moments when the ball sort of came alive. There was a moment where someone would be on a shoulder, there'd be another pass, and they looked ready for it. They looked like they knew exactly where they needed to be to make the most of every opportunity, and they were clinical in doing so, pretty much.
Yeah, and you compare that. I think you have to say that the Welsh played well, and yes, they did understand each other, but this is a Scottish side that came out of the back of November having stuck 50 points on Australia.
Nearly did a job on the All Blacks.
Yeah, and then have literally not even bothered.
Yeah,
might as well have just stayed in the changing room.
Yeah, I asked Gregor Townsend afterwards, what his thoughts were in terms of all the hype that had been, and the fact that the fans were their most optimistic than they had been for some time, and he just said, well, we didn't play well today. We were soundly beaten, but I've full belief that we'll be able to get back to it next weekend. But
well, they have to. They're playing against France, and I think they'll be thoroughly disappointed about their performance. I thought there were some, good individual performances. I thought Hamish Watson was, one of the smaller guys, was trying to knock down doors. There weren't any massive carries coming from anyone apart from him, really.
Yeah.
And he was trying to get them on the front foot. I thought Finn Russell really lacked accuracy, and just looked as if he was happy to sort of turn the ball over and for everyone else to try and get it back. Clearly, he's not happy about that, and I'm sure this weekend he'll turn in a much better performance. But a fairly disappointing display from them. Yeah,
Ross Milson answered my tweet on what were the best and worst moments of the weekend for you guys, saying that the Wales Scarlets revival was certainly one of them. Well, that did seem to be the case. Tim Colley, one of his worst moments, Scotland simply not turning up. So well done there. Next game, of course, took us to Paris and France taking on Ireland. Plenty of promise about the young French team. We discussed it in our preview show last week. 29 minutes and Mathieu Jalibert was gone. I was absolutely gutted for him, partly because I put him in my fantasy team. Yeah. Incidentally, who had Lee Halfpenny in their fantasy team? Suddenly scores all those points. But yeah, it was a dreadful shame for them. The game perhaps not the greatest. It obviously was finished with an incredible moment of drama. Johnny Sexton, has been hailed the world over, appearing in plenty of religious memes as God or son of. There were incidents as well that weren't so good. We know that there's going to be an investigation into this whole HIA scenario. There was Jalibert, there was Dupont. How did you see it?
Well, unless you've got a brain in your knee, I think there's some serious biological differences going on in France if that's the case.
Yeah.
I think you have to be really careful about how we use this HIA protocol. It's there for an important reason, and we can't sort of make light of why it's there, because otherwise, something might happen to that protocol, which really takes it away. And it's an important part of looking after players. Now I understand teams trying to push the barriers and trying to make those extra little bits that make the difference, like bringing on another scrum half when clearly Dupont had a sore knee.
Yeah.
You don't go down holding your knee if you've just had a bang on the head.
I mean, they're obviously using this HIA to get around the fact they don't want to lose a player on the field while potentially assessing someone else. But the old school nature of it would suggest, well, you don't need to cheat around the HIA rules. Okay, you're going to have 14 men, but at least get to the side of the pitch potentially. Take a few more minutes with the player, and okay, you're down to 14. But if he's fit, he can get back on and go on the field. There's no problem with that, is there?
No, and I think look at the case with Jalibert as well. It's being replayed. Bundiaki has put his knee into, and he's rubbing his knee as well.
Yeah.
So it's when it's that obvious. I think there's an independent match commissioner or a match doctor that makes those decisions. So, what was he looking at?
Yeah. Nigel Owens did his best to sort of raise his own influences.
He knew
didn't he?
exactly what was going on.
Yeah.
It's just very difficult in a situation like that where there isn't an independent match doctor to then go, well, no, I don't. I'm not going with that.
Yeah.
And I think that's taken a bit of the shine off. Okay, it wasn't the shiniest of games, but an outstanding snatch of victory from Ireland.
40 plus phases, 50 plus passes, the cojones to go for the crossfield kick that Earls managed to pick up was pretty impressive, and then followed up with a drop goal. I know a lot of people have sort of talked about, well, they made all those yards that sat at the platform. I mean, they lost a good 15 of those in some of those phases, having got into almost the edge of the 22, and then they were back between the halfway and 10 metre line when Sexton had to slot the drop goal.
I think Ireland have obviously come into this competition as one of the favourites. They were fairly disappointing, I think, in the way that they performed, and I think they'll try and galvanise themselves this week. That said, good sides manage to win when they're not playing well, and really for me that last the 40 phases, that was about the players on the field knowing exactly what they were trying to achieve. You could tell that they were trying to set up the drop goal. Perhaps not everyone knew it was going to come right at that exact moment. But you could tell from the way that Murray was just going little short balls to the left, little short balls to the right. They're trying to keep that ball in the centre of the field. Now, okay, I think Brony Sexton, if he had that all again, he'd probably say, well, maybe just a tiny bit closer, please.
If he did it again, he'd probably miss. I mean, it was absolutely incredible, really, wasn't it?
I mean, that was full club and it just dropped over, didn't it? So, an outstanding kick, but let's not take away from the fact of the effort that it took to really get to that point. We've seen Munster do that before. They did that to Northampton in the Champions Cup. An outstanding effort from them. France looked to have won it. A moment of brilliance from Teddy Thomas. That was an incredible finish.
Girardeau's face at the end.
Well, it said it all, didn't it? I mean, his face, it looked pretty battered anyway. I mean, he got through a lot of work and he really led from the front. I think it was 28 tackles, which from front row is outstanding. And like yourself, I was pretty disappointed that Jalibert went off. He started to build into the game. He's sharp. Like he looked to try and take the ball to the line. A couple of basketball passes over the top, a bit like Finn Russell, except Jalibert's came off. I think hopefully it'll just be a quick bang to the knee. Obviously, he's going to have his concussion test, of course.
Well, I think they've brought in players already, and Bouksis is one of those that's come in. Picamoles is in there as well. But I think the words from the French camp are that it's all over for Jalibert, and
that's a real shame.
Such a loss, isn't it?
Yeah, because he's a really exciting talent, and everyone wants to see a guy like that playing in Test rugby.
Yeah, what do you think it'll do, just finally on this one, to the French sort of mentality? They've now got all these players. Brunel's had to call on these players. That perhaps takes the look of this side back a stage or two from where it was perhaps looking a bit more front foot and developing. Will they have started to feel like their confidence is shattering already after round one?
The French have the potential to do that. But I think they'll also try and look at the positives and say, look, we had that in the bag, and that was a moment of brilliance from Ireland, or 2, 3, 4 minutes, whatever it was, of brilliance from Ireland. It won't change them all that much. Jalibert's gone. You'd expect Bello to just step up into that. Should his concussion test come back all okay? But I thought Palis at fullback looked quite sharp. I think at times.
Yeah.
That there's enough signs for France that they can actually do it. The problem is now they've got to get on the road and do it.
Yeah.
I don't sort of buy in anymore to the whole thing about French teams not travelling. Top 4 teams changed that. So it'll be an interesting match-up this weekend.
Certainly will. Sunday's game then, Italy against England, a huge encounter in the Stadio Olimpico, and incredible that Italy did such a good job to stay in it for as long as they did. They were scoring those tries, they were causing England a few problems, but England ultimately showed their class and put those points on in the end. 15-46, of course, it finished. Enjoyable display?
Yeah, I thought it was a great display by both teams. I watched the interview with Conor O'Shea afterwards, and you could tell his frustration, and rightly so. They had more possession than England. And they didn't quite have the quality to finish it off. I thought Costello and Boney in the middle, in the centre, were outstanding.
Yeah.
He's not necessarily the quickest centre, Boney, but he can certainly bust up the middle.
Yeah, he was getting through.
Yeah, and I just think there's a lot of promise there. Tommaso Allen at 10 is a good young player. They've got experience in Zani and obviously Parise. I just think they're starting to make. Or Conor O'Shea starting to make a difference to that Italian side.
Yeah, I was tweeting out about the fact that he wants his teams to go out and play. He'd said Italy at their best and England at their best, England will win. And we're not saying that either side was absolutely at their best, but certainly his players looked free to go out and express themselves in that game, and that's what he loves to see.
Yeah, and they threatened England, didn't they? They made some good breaks down around the width.
Yeah,
which is. It's tough to do against a side like England coming up with good line speed.
Yeah, and England's width. Anthony Watson gets the double tries and the man of the match award, but Sam Simmonds put in a hell of a shift, didn't he?
He snaffled that away, didn't he, Watson?
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, he'll be keeping that close to his chest. 2 tries. 23 tackles, 14 carries, 80 metres made. The nearest tackler to that was Chris Robertson, who made 16, and a couple of brilliant kind of aggressive, accelerating busts through the middle, and a couple of tries for him as well.
Yeah, it was interesting. People were saying that really he just contributed in that first half defensively, and that he was trying to make an effort in the second half. Well, he certainly did make an effort, didn't he? And really, those 2 tries that he scored, the pick-up pace and power that he showed, that is that's crazy, and a real threat. He's making those yards, those carries in tight areas. It's all right for wings and fullbacks to be making meters.
Johnny May made 69 metres or something, but in a fair amount of space. Let's
say. Exactly. I'm really excited about the future for Sam Simmonds. I think it could be great for him and England, and it was nice to see them build up through the game and finish strongly. Yeah,
the other big loss, of course, was Ben Youngs, who went off with that knee injury. We're expecting an update from England today, so make sure you keep in tune with Pundit Arena for the latest on that. It looks, it looked pretty bad.
It sounded pretty bad.
It sounded pretty bad as well. Yeah, absolutely. Ben Youngs is a top man. He's not going to be screaming unless there's an issue there, is he? And so you look at the potential replacements. Eddie Jones saying at the start of the tournament that the other 3 scrum halves waiting in the wings are Dan Robson, Richard Wigglesworth and Ben Vellacott. I know that he was interviewed after the game saying that he's likely to be looking at a technically accurate or a kicking style of scrum half, which ultimately is Richard Wigglesworth. So, I mean, Wigglesworth has ultimately been the number 3 for England for quite a while, but the calls for Dan Robson won't stop coming for Eddie Jones, but he just doesn't seem to want to trust him at this level.
No, and it's a bit like Don Armand, isn't it? There's so many people saying he should be given a shot. Well, there's something about his game that's not tickling Eddie Jones's fancy, and the same can be said for Dan Robson. It'd be interesting to see what happens this week, but I would expect Wiggy from Saracens.
Yeah, I think it's game management, that side of things is what Eddie Jones really likes, certainly in Youngs and Care. We ran through a quick 15 of the weekend on the website. Sean McMahon and I had a bit of a conflab over WhatsApp about it, arguing our cases. We'll run through it quickly. The back line at 15 Halfpenny, 14 Watson, 13 Boney, 12 Parks, 11 Steph Evans, 10 Johnny Sexton and 9 Gareth Davis. Lee Halfpenny at the back, I was saying he's probably got to be in there. Although he was just popping up in the right areas to finish off those tries. I mean, his goal kicking was excellent.
They weren't out and out finishes, were they?
They weren't really,
they weren't.
And I'm still not convinced that Lee Halfpenny offers a great amount going forward for Wales. But Warren Gatland spoke at the end of the game about how he's the best defensive fullback in the world, which is fair enough. Is that old Wales, while you could see in front of him what the rest of New Wales was doing in those Scarlets colours. You like the look of the Italian fellow, didn't you?
Yeah, look, I'll put my hand up for short people all day long.
Yeah,
and,
5'7".
Minozzi at 5'7" is hey, look, if he can do that at fullback, that's fantastic. I thought his feet were outstanding. His pace off the mark was threatening.
Yeah.
Okay, he didn't get on the score sheet, but he is a real standout talent for Italy.
Yeah, good. Our forwards then were Cian Healy, Guirado and Samson Lee in the front row, Joe Launchbury and James Ryan in the second row, and then the back row, Shingler, Navidi, and of course it had to be Simmons. The arguments there, although there were some great back row performances, there wasn't anyone particularly stand out, and given the work that Shingler and Navidi did for Wales, that gave them that platform around the breakdown, it was going to be a team that had largely red shirts in it anyway, given how well they played at the weekend.
Yeah, I think the Welsh fixture, really, that was a team that was firing on all cylinders. So understandable why you've picked them there.
Yeah,
it'll be interesting to see what happens when they get back here. Obviously we're at Twickenham right now filming this, so it'd be interesting to see what happens next weekend. Yeah,
I'm asking you for your best and worst. Also, got to mention Jill Rooney, who said that her worst moment of the weekend was leaving the pub at 72 minutes, blaming Ireland for having thrown it all away. And missing out on the moment of glory. Any other honourable mentions before we wrap it up?
I think to yourself for doing so much travelling this weekend. Outstanding effort.
Colwyn Bay, Cardiff.
Yeah, I mean, you probably got to from Colwyn Bay to Cardiff a lot quicker than you got from your house to here, actually. So
yeah. South London traffic on a Monday morning is great. We will have a preview show for you at the end of the week, and that will be looking forward, obviously, to round 2. Tom and I will be, I think we're at Pennyhill Park, or are we here at Twickenham? We'll work it out. We'll be in the right place together at the right time. In the meantime, enjoy the week and keep up with all the latest on punditarena.com and here on the Facebook page.